Mr. Harshavarman.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
So it has been a long journey. Started training in December 2023. I had decided that I would want to participate in a triathlon, specifically like a half Ironman in the year of 2024. And I hadn't chosen a half Ironman race yet, so I didn't know where I was racing. I was planning to race in Busselton, which was near Perth in Australia, which would have happened in December 2024. So that was the rough gauge and timeline I had. So I started training in December 2023, raced in December 2024, approximately 11 to 12 months to train. Should be good enough, considering that I am new to the sport of cycling and new to the sport of swimming and an extremely weak swimmer. So like before this, I had no formal form of training in swimming. Was not a very good swimmer. Definitely have not done open water swimming without life jackets. So yeah, so considering all these things, my learning curve, I would say, at December 2023 when I started training was definitely sharp, extremely steep. So then training began in December. So that's when I decided to get a bike. So I just got a basic Van Rysel bike from Decathlon. It's just an aluminium frame one, nothing too expensive, nothing too fancy. Bought a swimming pool membership at the nearby swimming complex near my house, and then started swimming twice a week. Yeah. So this is like the rough state of how I started off this triathlon training. So yeah, I would hit each discipline 3 times a week, and so for example, I would be training cycling 3 times a week, swimming 3 times a week, running 3 times a week, and then on top of that I would hit strength session 2 or 3 times a week as well, depending on my fatigue level. So in total I would be training more or less every day, in the morning before work and in the evening after work. So yeah, so that was my training frequency for this entire training block. So what are the trainings that I would do? So the trainings that I would do would be, I'll split it into mainly two intensities, I would say. One low intensity, one high intensity, and then the third one will usually be something like closer to race distances. So let's say for swimming, for example, 1 week I will be doing distances that are close to race distance, and then like just continuous of 1.9 km swims, for example, or continuous 1 hour swims, just to get the body used to moving continuously. I mean, definitely I was swimming in a swimming pool, so that means I had to swim laps. So yeah, need to account for time for turning and stuff, but yeah, that's negligible. And on top of that, the second swim session will be around the same distance in accumulatively, but definitely it will feel more intense. So it will be shorter bursts, then more rest time in between, so that I can perform at the optimal level at each set. So anywhere from 50 meter to 100 meter to 200 meter sets. This is purely just to work on power, work on speed, work on stroke rate, to make sure that basically my arms will move fast when I'm swimming. And a high stroke rate, I don't know, felt it was good to have a high stroke rate when swimming in open water. Just a personal opinion, might not work for everyone, it worked for me. And then the last swim session would usually be just more chill sessions, maybe a longer, like a lower intensity, but definitely slightly longer sets. So like anywhere from 800 meters to 500 to 800 meter sets basically. So each swim session that I go to, I would aim to clock around 2 kilometers to 2.2. I think the highest I hit was like 2.4 kilometers in one session. Yeah, so it would always be stagnant around this zone. I mean, not zone, these distances. As for my run training, so I did track sessions for my speed or the high intensity workouts. Then for my long runs, that's usually on the weekends is when I would be hitting close to half marathon distances, so like anywhere from 16 to 17 km. But of course I gradually built this up. It's not like day one I started running 16 to 17 km. Started off from like 10 km and slowly built up to like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all the way up to like 17. The highest mileage I hit was 18 km for a long run. And of course the other run session would just be a chill zone 2 run, can be anywhere from 1 hour to 1.5 hours. Yeah, so that's what I was doing for runs. As for the bike segment, I had an indoor trainer. So I have a smart indoor trainer. So for days that I'm usually weekdays, I would train indoors, and weekends I would train outdoors. So when on weekdays when I come back from work is when I would train indoors, set up the bike trainer, hook my bike up to it, and then I will again, one bike session would be like a easy 1.5 to 2.5 hours, just easy spin, just get it zone 2, just constant power. Then another bike session would be either threshold workouts or like sweet spot workouts, just make sure that my body is used to exerting a higher power output at for sustained periods of time. And then the last bike session will of course be my outdoor long ride. So this is usually done on Saturdays. It's when I'll go outside to cycle. So basically, yeah. So on days that it rains, you might ask, I would just ride indoors for about 3 to 4 hours as well. Since I have a smart trainer, I'm able to simulate the course profile, its elevation, its resistance and so on. So if my smart trainer is able to do that, I would download the GPX file of the course that I was racing, and I would do that indoors. So yeah. So these are three specific to the sport, and on top of that I will do strength work. So strength work, basically there are weeks that I hit 3 times a week, and most of the weeks I hit twice a week. So on days that on the weeks mostly I would hit one day of legs and shoulders, and another day of like chest and back. Keep it simple. Compound movements go heavy, your accessories go light, high rep range. So yeah, keeping it simple for the strength sessions, which might not be that beneficial, that I might explain later, considering the feedback I got from my physio. So yeah, so that's what I have been doing for the training sessions since December 2023 until race day November 10th. So training was going fine. Somewhere around mid-August to late August, I got my leaves approved. And then when I got my leaves approved, I decided to go, okay, let's go book a slot. And as I already said previously, I was aiming to go for the half Ironman that's happening in Busselton near Perth. And that's when I went to the website, tried to register, and it says registrations are closed as they have run out of slots. And then I was like, okay, adapt, improvise, overcome, right? So yeah. So what was next? Looked at the next races that happened around the same time, places near me, so Southeast Asia or Australia. As much as possible, I didn't want to race in Southeast Asia because I have friends who did half Ironman in Southeast Asian countries, and they said that the humidity is killer. So as a result of that, as much as possible, I wanted to avoid that and go to ideal case it would be Australia, will be the nearest and with the most ideal conditions in terms of weather conditions. So yeah, went to the Ironman website, looked at upcoming races in around the period of October to November, and I got 2 options. One was in Vietnam and the other one was in Australia, but Melbourne. So the one that was happening in Vietnam was, if I'm not mistaken, was somewhere in October, and the one that's happening in Melbourne, which is the one that I raced, was happening in November 10th, so early November. So I was thinking to myself, which one should I pick? And ultimately I decided to go with the Australian half Ironman, which was happening in Melbourne. So yeah, race was booked, flights were booked, accommodations were booked, logistics were settled. Training was going on until maybe late September. I remember, I don't know how, but my knee started hurting. My right knee specifically started hurting, and I was like, oh, don't know what's going on there. Then did some stretches, and I felt like my ITB was a bit tight, so I decided to take a few weeks off but it wasn't getting any better. Then when I decided, and there was 1 week, like maybe 2 weeks after the initial pain, where the pain felt slightly better, so I decided to go and try out cycling, and the pain spiked up again, and as a result I was like, okay, we're gonna have to take a break for a while. So I stopped cycling and running for like 3 weeks. I was purely focusing on swim, gymming, and trying to rehab the injury. So maybe like 3 to 4 weeks later, 3 to 4 weeks later of not swimming, or I mean 3 to 4 weeks of not running or cycling, my legs started feeling better. I mean, it wasn't 100%, but I could definitely take the load that I was exerting. So yeah, I slowly started resuming training, started ramping up the distances. The leg was still not feeling 100%, but yeah, it was either between resting completely all the way to the race, or gamble, take a risk, and decide to slowly start ramping up the volume, hoping that the injury doesn't flare up or doesn't become too severe that I won't be able to race. Definitely a gamble, one that I took, and somehow it paid off. I managed to race without it being a major issue or like hindering my race specifically. Then maybe 3 weeks out from the race, one day I was doing reverse flies on the gym to hit the trapezius muscle and the rotator cuff, important muscles for swimmers. So definitely need strengthening. But then I don't know how, when I was doing it, felt normal, but when I came back home, went for work, halfway through work, I realized that that particular muscle was feeling extremely tight and it felt strained. And whenever I turned my head to the right, it hurt. So I was like, okay, maybe this is something we need to take care of or beware of. And I was like, okay, let's put off swimming for a while, focus on cycling and running. So previously my leg was injured, so I couldn't cycle or run, I could only swim. Now my shoulder was strained, so I could only cycle and run and couldn't swim. So yeah, and this shoulder injury was like 3 weeks out, or 3 weeks before the race. So I was like a bit worried, as in, because I wanted to do an open water swim, for the full distance open water swim, which I still hadn't done. I had done open water swims, but not the full distance. So I was like, okay, I was planning to do it like 2 weeks out, but I got injured 3 weeks out. So I was like, took a break, focused on the other two disciplines of the sport, and 2 weeks out of the race, my shoulder started feeling better, and I went to Sentosa to try and open water swim, and yeah, shoulder wasn't feeling that much better, but it wasn't that great of a hindrance. But I cut short the swim because I didn't want to risk injuring myself too much, considering that the race was extremely close in terms of this. So yeah, so that was the condition that I was in, with an injured knee that was not exactly knee, strained ITB, not exactly 100% recovered yet, and a strained trap muscle, trapezius muscle. So yeah, this was the condition that I was in when I flew off to Melbourne for the race. So yeah, we then landed in Australia, and then Melbourne, and then yeah, settled into an Airbnb. The views were actually quite nice. Settled into an Airbnb, then we moved, first day was quite chill, settled into the Airbnb, set up my bike, which was in a bike box. If you're wondering how I flew my bike over, I had to fit into a bike box. I will attach a picture somewhere here. Yeah, then went in, assembled my bike, make sure all my gear was in good condition after the flight, make sure everything was working, and then that's when, after that, next day is when we went on a short road trip, Great Ocean Road. My parents accompanied me for this trip, so yeah, went for a road trip, like it's a one entire day of road trip. Came back next day, Friday. So I landed on Australia on a Wednesday, Thursday was a road trip, Friday was back. Friday, time to lock in for the race, which was happening on Sunday. So Friday I went for acclimatization ride, just to make sure that I knew how the conditions were in terms of terrain, in terms of headwind, tailwind, which I had no clue. So yeah, the acclimatization was good. The scenes were damn good. And we were cycling past the shoreline, cycling along the shoreline. So yeah, the water was just beautiful. So yeah, did my acclimatization right. It was damn windy and it was raining. I got drenched a bit in the rain, and I was feeling a bit sick on Friday night. Friday evening is when I went in to go register, so athlete registration. Tell them that hey, I'm here, I'm ready to race. Went in, got my stuff that they have. So it's like a drawstring bag, and it had this t-shirt, and then it had a band to show that that gives you access into athlete only areas. And then we also got the number bit, basically shows our number, our name on it for easy identification when running. Yeah, so these were the things that were given, and then they told us, okay, there is transition tours happening on Saturday, you can go and see it after I check in my bike. So yeah, that's it for Friday. Friday was a chill day. Went back home, slept early, wasn't feeling that great also because I was feeling a bit feverish. Took some meds, slept early, woke up next day, still not feeling 100%, still quite feverish. Woke up, took my bike, went down to the Ironman village, checked in my bike, waited for a transition tour. They told us what to do at transition, how it would work, how the transition would basically work. And once that was done, it was Saturday night, the night before the race. So yeah, slept early. Race was supposed to start at 6:10. Transition point will open at 4:45 to 5:45, so they can come in and set up all your transition point, because the previous night transition point was open only to ride your bikes. So yeah, Sunday morning 4:45 was when transition point opened up, so that's when you could go in, set up your transition point. So yeah, so woke up about 2:45 a.m. in the morning. Woke up, got some standard bread, peanut butter, bananas breakfast. Yeah, got it. Ate breakfast, took all my gear, one last check, make sure I had everything, put on my tri-suit, put on my wetsuit. It was extremely cold. It was like 4 a.m. in the morning. The temperature was like probably like 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. So yeah, put on a jacket on top of that, and then we moved to the athlete village. Went to the transition point, dropped off all the stuff that I needed: my bike cleats, my running shoes, my socks, my gloves, nutrition gels, extra energy gels, and so on. And then once that was done, it was race time. All the preparations that I had done, that I could have done, was done. All that was left to do was to race, or was to participate in the event. So I came out of the transition point around 5:30. So the first flag off was like around 5:50 if I remember correctly. So we moved to the transition point, away from transition point to swim start. And at swim start, we were split into zones. So zone 1 being the fastest swimmers and zone 4 being the slower swimmers. I was in zone 4, which meant that I was the group with the slower swimmers. We were expected to finish 41 minutes or slower for that 1.9 km swim. So yeah, then we were just acclimatizing, so we could access the water and we could just swim out a bit, acclimatize to the temperature of the water and so on. And then that was done, and I decided to do it also, since I hadn't had a chance to go and acclimatize to the water conditions the day before. Because I was feeling sick, I decided not to do the acclimatization swim. So I went in, took a few strokes, and I knew that the cold was going to be a challenge that I would have to tackle. Because walking in was fine, but once I dived in to start swimming, once the water hit my face, because of the cold temperature, my breathing rate spiked. So I was breathing very regularly and very fast, which was something that I had to get it under control if I wanted to be able to swim properly and not take in water. So yeah, just took a mental note of that, and that I would have to face that again when I actually started my swim. So yeah, after that, came out of the water, was just chilling. Zone by zone we were cleared, and it was my zone to start. So I approached swim start, waited at the start line, buzzer went off, the usher told us we can go ahead with a swim. Tide was quite low, so we walked quite a bit into the water. People were just diving into the water when the water level was only like thigh high, and they dived into the water and they just stood up again because the water was just too shallow to swim. So I just kept walking in until the water level was like around my waist level. Then once it was at my waist level, jumped in, started swimming, and then yeah, as usual, as expected, my breathing rate spiked because of the cold temperature. And yeah, first order of business, bring down my breathing rate, and that's what I did. So just focus on taking smooth, slow, long strokes. Make sure that I focus more on breathing than maybe stroke rate or maybe how much water I was pulling. Just focus purely on breathing, body under control, and after that it was just cruise control. Bumped into a few people while swimming. It's normal when you're in an open water swim. Yeah, sighting was not that much of an issue because I could just stick to people who were swimming in front of me. As long as they were going the right path, I was going the right path. So just did not infrequent checks here and there to make sure that I was going in the least path. No, the correct path with the least displacement. Yes, correct. No, least distance. My bad. So yeah, so the swim just went by. So we walked out into the shore, perpendicular to the shore. Then swam a bit. That was the first left turn boy. So left turn. So we started swimming parallel to the shore again. Then after like maybe I think like 200, 300 meters. No, I think it was more than, I think like 500 meters. There was a right turn boy, right turn. So that we were swimming perpendicular to the shore. Then again there was another right turn boy, right turn. So we're now swimming back parallel to the shore. Then another right turn boy, so we swim back perpendicular to the shore towards the shore. So yeah, that was the swim route. Nothing eventful besides the fact that my left feet went numb. So after the second right turn, there was this long stretch of just straight swimming until the last right turn boy. So yeah, my left feet went numb basically because the water was too cold. So I feel like because of that, blood flow was restricted. You know, like you're swimming parallel to the water surface, so blood flow is not as great because gravity is not exactly helping you. So blood flow was not as much to my legs. My left feet, I could feel it going numb. I tried to increase my kick rate to make sure that I could get some blood flowing to my legs. Didn't help that much. Left feet went numb, so I was just working on a single leg beat kick. It was funny. I was just laughing to myself like what the scenario I was in. But yeah, once I reached the shore, once my fingers would touch the shore, stood up, yeah, left feet, utterly no feeling, just felt like I was standing on a stump. Then looked at my watch and I was like 43 minutes and 18 or 20 seconds. I was like, yo, that's good. Then I was like, oh, yeah, that's very, very good. So then that's when I started hobbling over. I wouldn't say jog. I was hobbling over to the finish line of the swim. Then once I got past the swim, glanced at my watch, it was 44 minutes. So 44 minutes is extremely good timing for me because I had thought that I would only finish it in 55 minutes. But I came out in 44 minutes and 7 seconds. So yeah, that was my timing for the swim, 44 minutes and 7 seconds. Smashed it. I was a good 10 minutes ahead of time. So that was the swim. So we spoke about the swim segment yesterday. Yep. So today we will continue talking about how the cycling segment went. So it was 90 km of cycling. I finished it in 3 hours and 28 minutes if I remember it correctly. So yeah, so how it went. So as I explained in my previous segment, in the swim my left feet went entirely numb due to the cold temperature, and as a result, when I started the cycle, my left feet was still numb, and because of that, I had no feeling in my toes for the first 70 km of the ride, but that didn't affect my ride that much. I felt like I could still output the power when I started riding. So basically I came out of transition jogged over, hobbled over to the start point, and what's start point? Sorry, the transition point. Switched on my bike computer. Tried to connect it to my watch. Connected. Watch started connecting to all the sensors, except my freaking power meter. It didn't want to connect to my power meter. I don't know why. Tried to troubleshoot it. Didn't want to connect. And I was like, okay, let's not waste time. Put my cleats on, put my helmet on, off we go. Without a power meter. And I decided to just ride on pure effort. Which wasn't that bad, because I had done the simulated race course on my smart trainer before. So I knew like where and how much my paces must be. So then we begin the ride out of T1. So it's a out and back loop. You do it 2 times. So from the you start, you travel 2 km north, and then you go make a U-turn, go down all the way south, and then you make a U-turn like around 22 km later, travel all the way north again to the first U-turn point, U-turn again, and then go down all the way south, and then U-turn again and back to T1. So T1 and T2 were in the same place. So yeah, so it's 2 loops, right? So the first loop, I was able to maintain a decent speed. So when you're traveling south, it's a slight downhill, overall downhill. So you're definitely faster on the southbound journey. But when you're back after the U-turn on the northbound journey, it's slightly like a rolling hills. So slightly slower than expected. Headwind as well. So yeah, definitely slower on the northbound as compared to on the southbound. So basically, yeah, that's what the race was. So first loop was fast. I was averaging around 27, 28. Second loop was slightly slower. I think I averaged around 26. And as a result, the total time taken was like 3 hours 28 minutes, which was a good 7 minutes faster than my expected duration. Expected for like 3 hours 35 minutes based on my simulated course rides on my indoor smart trainer. Yeah, and that's good. And that was for my cycle. So we came back T1 and we came back to T2, and then that's how we ended our bike ride. Yep, bike ride was quite a smooth journey. No unusual incidents or events that happened to talk about. Yeah, alright, see you all in the run segment, because I'm about to hit the gym. So we are down to the final segment of the Ironman 70.3. So basically the run segment, which was 21.1 kilometers. And yeah, it was an absolute horror show. Like, the paces that I used to run, I just couldn't keep up. Maybe it's because I was injured, took a 3 weeks break from running, and then I couldn't really ramp up my training volume back to my usual state. I just couldn't move my legs as quickly as possible after that long ride session of 90 kilometers in my right leg. So yeah, it was just a lot of walking, jogging, hobbling along. Every aid station made sure that I made absolute use of the aid station. Water, electrolytes, coke, everything. I just took everything, made sure I got my $600 worth of money back. Yeah, legs started seizing up within the first 2 km, so I knew that I was in for a long, torturous run slash jog slash hobbling. So yeah, but the Australian people showed up, man. They were absolutely on point with the encouragement, just shouting out to random people, say, let's go, you almost got this, you're almost done, you got a few more kilometers. These were just the general public. Then within the people who were participating, as we ran past each other, because it was a two loop course, so, and it's an out and back course again, so people running along the loop would also see people running backwards from the loop. So yeah, people were just shouting encouragements to each other. I just shouted encouragements to people that I saw, people who were really struggling, people who were doing well. Everyone was just supportive of each other. I mean, we all signed up for this race with the common goal of maybe hitting a PR, hitting a particular time, just getting experience, or completing your race, no matter what, be it. At the end of the day, if you complete the Ironman 70.3 triathlon, it is definitely a big sense of achievement, no matter what the time is, no matter how you complete it. So yeah, so that in the sweet and short manner to say, run was not how I expected it to go. Definitely needs a lot of improvement. I would say my run is my weak. After this, like when I started my triathlon journey, I would say my swim was my weakest. But I think after this triathlon, this half Ironman race that I did, I would say my run is my weakest and is probably my kryptonite. It has always been my kryptonite. It's once again proven that it is my kryptonite. Definitely need to work a lot more, and I have to work smart as well, make sure that I do not get injured, like how I'm nursing an IT band injury right now. So yeah, so that's just one particular thing that I have to keep note of, to be able to ramp up running volume without getting injured, so that I can ensure that I have a consistent running progress. So yeah, this is how the run was. So basically, yeah, I mean, the running route was absolutely beautiful as well. We were running along the shore again. Could see the water, could see people. We run past 2 beaches, could see the water. Just a very nice scenic route in general. So yeah, that was the run. Then after the run, finish line. So yeah, that has been the culmination of 12 months of work, early mornings, not really late nights. Try to get to sleep on time because work as well, and then I would have to train the next day. Been a lot of early mornings, been a lot of workouts that I didn't want to do before work or after work. Skipped some workouts, but got through, I would say, 90% of the workouts that I wanted to hit. Definitely injury was not ideal. Somehow managed to do the triathlon with an injury. Got to work on that next. Make sure that put more focus on injury prevention when training, ramping up volume, ramping up intensity, and so on. So yeah, for now, that's it, and that's how the journey has progressed so far from December 2023 when I started to train for a triathlon to November 10th when I crossed the finish line at Ironman 70.3 in Melbourne. So for now, the next race
I will not let them win. I won't stop till the end. No.